Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Liverpool Transfer Talk show on Football Talk Podcast. My name is Ozzy, and I'm your host for this evening. A lot of rumours to discuss. We got pretty much some official news today. Well, to be fair, the news broke a couple of days ago, but other journalists confirmed that Florian Wirtz will be joining Liverpool, so that's one of the big talking points for today. But there are other rumours circulating regarding Liverpool and potential arrivals for this summer. So let's start with the first one, and of course, we can't go further than Florian Wirtz. Yes, it's official. It's Florian Friday. The news was confirmed by Romano a couple of days ago, but Ornstein and Paul Joyce pretty much, solidified that claim by confirming today that Liverpool have agreed a deal worth 116.5 million. I know a lot of fans and media outlets assumed it would have been a lot higher. The quoted fee was around 150 million euros, which, if you convert into pounds, is around 126 million. But it seems to be a lot less, which is a great piece of business from Liverpool. The structure in terms of the payment is 100 million up top, I guess, and then well, not up to. It won't be, the big chunk of money will be 100 million in installments plus 16.5 million in add-ons. So it'll be bonus related. I think Ballon d'Or is one of the clauses as well. If he wins, then Bayer Leverkusen will receive a chunk of that money as well. So in terms of the deal, I think it's a fantastic deal. I think this deal ends up being the most expensive deal in the Premier League history, based on if all the add-ons and clauses are met. But it's a flat fee of 100 million, so it's the same amount that Arsenal paid for Declan Rice and Man City paid for Jack Grealish. Of course, I hope he has a better impact than those two players. But look, I've mentioned Verts quite a few times in the last couple of weeks. I'm super excited about seeing Florian Wirtz, playing the Liverpool shirt. I think he's going to elevate the team in a different level, and that's what excites me. What he brings to the table is something that we don't possess in our squad. Someone that has intricate passing, is a playmaker from an attacking point of view. I can also score a huge volume of goals. So he's going to be all action in this team. And yeah, I'm super excited about seeing Florian Wirtz in a Liverpool shirt. Of course, it remains to be seen what shirt number he will end up taking, but that's the least of our concerns. All we care about is that he becomes a Liverpool player, and it looks like that is exactly what's going to happen. So positive news for Liverpool, and it also excites us Liverpool fans because we're thinking we've got one big deal over the line. Could we do another one? Could we get Isak, for example? Only time will tell. But hopefully, we can make something happen. And this is not just the only transfer that Liverpool do this season. We've signed 4 players, one new player and 3 players. Well, I say 3. The third one isn't confirmed yet, but you've got Frimpong, that's official. Verts is pretty much official now, and Kerkez is going to be announced very, very soon as well. So onwards and upwards, and yes, very, very excited about the prospect of seeing Florian Wirtz in a Liverpool shirt. Next rumor, Eze and Harvey. There's a rumor circling around last week where this was, you know, communicated as a potential deal involving Eze and Harvey Elliott. Crystal Palace have shown interest in signing Harvey Elliott, and it's no secret that Liverpool are admirers of Eze as well. I just feel like this is, a media outlet playing a bit of career mode. You don't really get swap deals like that in this day and age. On paper, it makes sense because both clubs share interest in the players that we've just mentioned. But I don't think there is any sort of truth to the rumor of a swap deal. Now, in terms of it being separate deals, you can't rule it out, to be honest with you. Um, Harvey Elliott going to Crystal Palace, wouldn't be a bad move for him. He'll return to London and he'll be playing Europa League football next season as well. So not a bad club to join. It's a definite club on the up. In regards to Eze, I feel like it could be a great time for him to move elsewhere and face another challenge. But at the same time, he's at a club that are playing European football for the first time due to his winning goal in the FA Cup. So he might want to play for another season at least and then decide to move on elsewhere after that. But in terms of Liverpool, I don't think we're in the market for profile of Eze. Now we've signed Florian, so I don't think that's the profile we need at this stage. I think we need a more defensive-minded midfielder. I think that would be the more, logical addition to the squad because, in terms of numbers and quality and depth, that's not an area that we have an abundance of players for those roles. So great player. I've rated Eze for a long, long time, but I don't think there's any truth to this rumor. Another rumor circulating, and that's regarding Federico Chiesa. Now, every week I feel like there's a new club linked with him. First, it was Napoli, then it was AC Milan. And now there's another team, or maybe two teams in the mix now. One of the teams is Real Betis. Now, apparently, um, they want to sign Chiesa in order to replace Anthony in their team. Anthony will be returning to Manchester United as he was only there on a loan spell. The second rumor is that Inter Milan have apparently agreed a fee of 20 million euros for Chiesa. So, look, remains to be seen, what the truth is in regards to his next destination, but I'm sure we'll find out soon. And it's probably, safe to say that he will be leaving Liverpool this summer. Next rumor that's been circling for the last few days is Min Jae. Now, I'll be brutally honest, I totally forgot about this player. Yeah, fantastic spell at Napoli not so long ago. But since he moved over to Bayern Munich, I feel like he's not really been heavily involved up there. And now he's currently being linked with a move to Liverpool. The fee is rumored to be around £43 million. My thoughts on this rumor and the player. Now, if we were signing Min Jae from Napoli, then it's a different proposal there because he showed, his probably best form in his career whilst playing for the Italian team. But since he's gone over to Bayern Munich, I feel like he's, pretty much digressed. So I don't see the appeal anymore to sign Min Jae. I don't think that's something that's on the cards, if I'm being brutally honest. So for me, I don't think this rumor has any legs. So yeah, for me, this is just paper talk and nothing else to it. Next rumor, Darwin Núñez. Now, a lot of interest regarding Darwin Núñez. I think there's been interest from Spain, Atletico Madrid being one of the clubs. There's, of course, been a lot of interest from the Saudi teams, in particular Al Hilal. Um, I think it's a case of sooner rather than later in regards to his departure this summer. I'll be hugely surprised if he ends up staying at the club. But I really hope that Liverpool can recoup a major chunk out of the transfer fee that we paid Benfica all those years ago because that money will be needed in order to reinvest into the squad and try and find a prolific striker in the team. So hopefully we can get around that 70 million, 80 million mark. I think that would be a great amount of money for us to try and sign adequate quality for the squad. Next player that we linked with is Nick Woltemade. Now, this is a player that plays for the German national team. He has been linked to a move to Liverpool, but as well as Roma. Roma apparently were in talks with the striker. I've not heard anything since then. But is he the right type of player or the right quality for Liverpool? We haven't seen an abundance of him, so I can't say, with a definite answer that he is or he isn't. But from what I've seen, he's definitely got something about him. He's 6'6", very tall lad, and when you see that sort of player of that size, you're expecting him to be someone that just holds the ball up and uses his strength to his advantage. He's actually got a bit more to himself. He's a player that likes to dribble. He's very, very agile, very quick on the ball, good dribbler, has a decent shot on him. I don't know if he's Liverpool quality, if I'm being honest. He's had a good spell at Stuttgart, but for me, that doesn't transform, into the Premier League straight away. So for me, probably not the right quality for Liverpool. But with the striker market being so slim in terms of quality, there aren't an abundance of choices out there. So it remains to be seen who Liverpool try to pursue in the coming weeks. Now, we've also linked with his teammate, and that is Angelo Stiller. Now, the current rumor is that we are being, linked with a £40 million move for the player. I think he's a fantastic player. He would be a great addition to our squad. He's a player that can play as a number 6 in a single pivot, so he'll be a cover for Gravenberch. Can also play in a double pivot alongside Gravenberch or McAllister. Can even play as a number 8, just a little bit ahead. Um, Not very energetic in terms of box to box, but has a good passing range. So I feel like he'd be a great addition to the squad. He wouldn't be a starter, in my opinion. I think he'd be a player that would rotate with Gravenberch and McAllister, but it would be a very smart signing. He's a player that brings a different passing range in the middle of the park. Uh, has good defensive awareness. So I feel like he would add that good sort of balance that we need in a player that will cover for Gravenberch and for McAllister. Um, 40 million, not a lot in this day and age. We've been linked with Andrew Wharton, who, not saying they're similar style of players, but in terms of profile, both left-footed midfielders, can play 6, can play as an 8, and he'd probably cost 60, 70, 80 million. I don't know what the exact amount will be, but he'd cost an arm and leg. So this could be a smart signing that is, a bit more on the sort of the cost efficient side. So let's see. If he was the player that was, to join Liverpool, I'd be quite pleased with the sign. I think he's a good player. Um, is there better players out there? Yes, there is. But I don't know if those players are available to join Liverpool at this stage of the season. So we'll see. But Andrew Silva would be a good addition to the squad, in my opinion. Whether it happens or not, we'll only soon find out in the next coming weeks. Luis Diaz, no surprise. He's probably going to be mentioned every week on a transfer talk show. Um, Last week we spoke about Barcelona showing strong interest in signing the player. They even made an official approach to Liverpool, but it was rebuffed immediately. I think they offered around 40, 45 million, including add-ons, which is completely outrageous. And for them to think that was going to be accepted is ridiculous. So that completely got rebuffed, and then we end up communicating to the media that Liverpool aren't willing to sell Luis Diaz. That's only because we don't want to sell him to Barcelona. We want to sell him to a Saudi team who are willing to pay over the odds. So we're talking 70, 80 million pounds. So if we're able to sell Diaz and Nunes to Saudi, and we're able to generate, between 140 to 160 million, we're laughing to the bank, because that money can be used to sign a top striker, a guy from Newcastle, might fit the bill in that regard. So, you know, I don't want to see Diaz leave, because I think he's actually a great player, and I think he fits perfectly in terms of how we play, and even the formation, that I feel like we're going to play next season. He fits that very, very well. So remains to be seen. I think for him, it's not a footballing reason in terms of why he needs to be sold. For Darwin Núñez, I don't think he's good enough. For Luis Diaz, I think the club aren't willing to give him a new contract and improve terms. So that's why he's having to open, talks with other clubs, and have different options available to him in order to prolong his career. Because if he's here for one more season, he might not be pleased, in terms of continuing to earn the same amount that he has been for the last few years. But at the same time, if that is what's communicated to the player, that he has to play one more season, I don't think he'll throw a big fuss about it. He still has 2 years remaining in his contract. So worst case scenario from him is that he plays another season for Liverpool, and then next year he can make that move to a Barcelona or another team in Europe if he wants to play at this level. So let's see. But in my opinion, and my gut instinct tells me that I think Luis Diaz will end up leaving this summer. Now the next rumor is Victor Osimhen. Now we mentioned the Saudi teams quite a bit today, and with this rumor, there's no difference. The only difference with this rumor is that it looked like he was on the verge of signing for Al Hilal, but apparently the talks have broken down, and the news that we're getting is that it was actually over salary, or over the finances in terms of his contract. Now God knows what he demanded. Because I've never heard of a player rejecting a Saudi move, or talks have broken down due to money. So that's something new. in regards to why that move never materialized. But does this open the door for other clubs to pursue the striker? I think it certainly does. It opens the door for a number of teams. The team that he just played last season on loan with, Galatasaray, they will be in the mix to try and sign him. They've just signed Leroy Sané, which is a fantastic coup for the Turkish team. So maybe adding Osimhen to the mix, will definitely give them a real pedigree in terms of having quality players in their squad. You've got the likes of Manchester United, Chelsea, that are also looking for a new striker. And Liverpool are no different. I think Osimhen would be a fantastic signing for us. Whether it's a realistic deal or not, I'm not so sure. I think the fee that would, help us acquire the player, I believe he's got a release clause of £60 million. So that fee isn't too high in terms of his salary. I think he earns between 2 to 250K, which is not too crazy either. In terms of his age profile, I think he's 26, 27, so not old, but not the profile that FSG would normally sign a player. It's normally in the early 20s, maximum 23, 24. Um, but the difference is that he is an established striker. He's prolific and has been for a number of years. So for me, he will add quality to our team. And I'd be pleased if we signed Osimhen. Another factor could be that because he plays for Nigeria, he might not be involved in this year's AFCON. But I have heard that AFCON could be moved at a different time after the coming tournament. So, that will definitely change the the, the aspect of players being on international duty during the halfway stage of the season. Um, but I think Liverpool need to think about the quality in the squad, not just a certain phase of the season. Because if he's not at AFCON, what if he was injured? Like, he'll be out for a few weeks anyway. So you just have to look at that. If the player's not available, it gives another player a chance to, make a stake in the team. So for me, I would say he would be a fantastic signing for us. I rate him. I think his variation in terms of his finishing. He's the complete striker. He scores left foot, right foot, tap-ins, headers, bicycle kicks. Like, he does everything, and he's always around that 6 yard box. He's got great movement and finding himself in great positions from low crosses and even high crosses because he's a great header of the ball. So for me, he would be an established signing for us, and that's the kind of striker I want us to sign. I don't really want us to sign a project player. I'd like to sign someone that is, ready-made and can hit the ground running as soon as they join the club. So, Osimhen, if there is any truth to it, I'd be happily uh, and pleased about his acquisition to the team. I just got a couple comments here. Walker on 66 says, big up yourself. Walker on 66, I hope you're well. Double D said, we spoke to Osimhen a few months ago. Trost Ekong said when he came on TalkSport. I heard that as well. Apparently, we were very close to signing the player in January. The only downfall was that I think the president wanted more money up top or something along those lines. And also, we weren't able to get the move done. We had a very short window to sign Osimhen, and this also was in reflection to Darwin Núñez possibly leaving the club to join Al Hilal in January. So yeah, that's the connection between the two players there. Whether Liverpool reignite that interest again in Osimhen remains to be seen. It might be where they've wanted to pursue another striker now. Only time will tell. But I really hope we do sign an established striker. That's the profile that I think that Liverpool should be going for in this window. Next player is Ousmane Diomande. Now, a player that's been linked to a number of teams in the Premier League, not just Liverpool. He's been linked to a move to Chelsea, and even Crystal Palace are in the mix. But when Liverpool come knocking on the door, hopefully that should be enough to sway the player to join the Reds. Now, Dembele, I wish. Ousmane Diomande is a centre back that can play in a back three, in a back four. Can even play as a DM, if required. Very, very strong on and off the ball. Great passing range, very dominant in the air, and he's a player that I feel like could complement Van Dijk in the starting team. Can also play alongside Konate. In fact, I think Diomande and Konate share very similar traits. So my concern would be about, with regards to this sign, would be that if Diomande is joining Liverpool, is he being brought in to replace Konate? Because Konate hasn't signed a new contract, and his future is pretty much up in the air. So that would be my concern if we were to sign him. Of course, I'd be happy about Diomande signing because I've been speaking about him for a couple of years. He's a fantastic player and would be a great addition to our squad. But is there a domino effect? Is there a thing where he comes in and someone has to leave? I wouldn't be overly pleased about that. And if that was the case, then we'd probably have to sign two centre backs. Diomande wouldn't be enough, in my opinion. So for me, he would be a fantastic addition to the squad. He wouldn't cost too much as well. He'd cost around 35, 40 million pounds. So I hope he's a player that Liverpool can try to sign because I think he's only 21, 22, so he's got a great career ahead of him, and hopefully he'll be able to play for Liverpool one day. Hopefully that's what I'm trying to put the energy out there for him to join Liverpool. But let's see, we might have other targets in mind that we're not completely aware of. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Diamond and see where he ends up joining this summer. Now, this rumor definitely surprised me yesterday, and that was Bradley Barcola being linked with a move to Liverpool. Now, there has been some rumblings in terms of his contract negotiations that they're not on the same page with PSG, and maybe they are looking to move to a different club. Um, and the current rumor is that Liverpool would like to sign the left winger, and apparently the fee would be around £100 million to acquire his services. Look, if I could choose any left winger in world football, this would be the guy that I'd want to sign. And I know some fans would probably give you different names. They'll give you names like Rodrigo or Rafael Leao or Nico Williams, those sort of caliber of players. But for me, I really, really rate Bradley because I think his ceiling is higher than those players. And I feel like he can be impactful as soon as he comes in. I think he's so good that if he was to join Liverpool, he'll be ahead of Cody Gakpo right away. That's the kind of level, and that's the kind of appreciation I have for this player because I feel like he is top quality. His numbers last season were outstanding, and I feel like it's only for him. He needs to find that team that will play him week in week out. He's not. He has played a lot of games. I think he's just played under 50 games, but he is a player, that might feel like his position's in danger because they signed Kvaratskhelia in January, and he's predominantly a left winger, just like Barcola. So, he might feel like his position is in danger, and maybe he needs to look elsewhere. Plus, he's not getting the contract that uh, he's asking for. God knows how much that is in terms of the salary, because I'm sure he earns a good amount of money, but who knows in terms of what the salary requirement is from Barcola. But from a Liverpool point of view, if we are able to get any sniff about Barcola wanting to leave, I think we should be all over it. I know 100 million is a lot of money, but he's 21, I believe. So that that sort of signing will future-proof the team for years to come. So for me, he's the next guy that I feel like will be regarded as one of the best players in world football. So if Liverpool can try and acquire him this summer, we'll be laughing. So this is a dream signing for me. So if it happens, yeah, expect to see an impromptu show right away. You'll probably see me pull out the shisha as well because it will be a celebration type of show. So let's see what happens in regards to Barcola. Another player being linked with a move to the Bundesliga, and that is Jerome Kwanzaa. Now, this was the rumor circling for the last couple of weeks in regards to the Florian Wirtz deal taking place. And apparently, there's a delay because we wanted, or they wanted, I should say, Kwanzaa as part of the deal. That looks like it's not the case. It's probably two separate deals, which makes it, easier to manage. And the rumor is that, he is showing a lot of interest to Bayer Leverkusen as they are looking to replace Jonathan Tah, who's joined Bayern Munich. Now, in terms of the move, it would be a good move for him to go to Bayer Leverkusen, um, but it all depends on the transfer fee. I think we're in a position where we can, demand a decent amount of money for him. He's got a lot of interest in the Premier League. He's no short of suitors here. and we value him at £50 million. I don't know if we'll get that amount, but I'm sure we'll get close enough. So 40, 45 million, I think would be enough to sell the player this summer. I think we'll probably have to add a buyback clause, if he, fulfills his potential in the next couple of years and give us the option to re-sign him again. But I feel like he's a player that needs that move away from Liverpool, whether it's loan or if he's being sold. I think because he's got a bit of value to him now, played a good amount of games under Jurgen Klopp, not so much against with Arne Slot, but he's also, around the England sort of setup as well in terms of the national team. So, there's a lot of positive in regards to trying to get a bigger fee, with those being the selling points there. So if we get 40 to 50 million, I think it's enough for Liverpool to accept that offer. And I think, we can use that money to sign another centre back because I think we will definitely need to replace him like for like. Whether it's by Leverkusen or not, only time will tell. I'm not too sure that will be the move that ends up happening. I can see him staying in the Premier League. Maybe Newcastle might want to sign him. They've shown a lot of interest in the player. They actually tried to sign him last summer as well. So if I have to make a prediction, I think he'll end up at Newcastle or a club of that ilk. I mentioned his name earlier on, Rafael. Now he's been linked with a move to Liverpool, but I think that was in alignment with Chiesa rumored to joining AC Milan, but it looks like that might not be on the cards. But it doesn't stop the rumors in regards to Rafael. I think for Rafael, it's probably the right time for him to move on and challenge himself in a different team in a different league. I think he's been at AC Milan far too long. He probably should have moved a long time ago, and I feel like he's not evolved the way we expect him to. When he had a fantastic performance in the Euros not so long ago, and I feel like that was probably the time for him to move on. But he's decided to stay there. He's at a team that has been a bit up and down. They haven't been consistently good. He has won silverware there, but they haven't been challenging or dominating the league or anything to that nature. So for me, I would really like to see Rafael in a Liverpool shirt. I think he'd be a great signing for us. I know a lot of fans have reservations due to his inconsistency, and but I feel like if the manager or the coach, I should say, has faith in the player and thinks he can produce a good level for the team and can do it on a consistent basis, then I'm all for it. So for me, he would be a great signing. But I know he's not everyone's cup of tea. For me, he is. I really, really rate him. So, if we are in the market for a Luis Diaz replacement, I think Rafael Leao fits the bill perfectly. Just got a comment here from Eddie's Football Waffle. We got Eddie, he says, "Hi Ozzy, dropping a like. Leao seems enigmatic, but would be great to see his physicality and skill in the Prem." Yeah, he's definitely a player that splits opinions. I would love to see him in the Premier League. I feel like his way of playing, his style of playing would be very much suited to the league. I think he'd be explosive in the Premier League. I really do. He just needs to, find a team where he'll be playing week in, week out, which I think, in the Liverpool team, some may say that, he wouldn't surpass Gakpo. I probably say he would. They'll probably be in rotation, but Liao would probably be ahead of him in the pecking order. And I feel like he's able to play in that left wing role. He can also play in a strike force as well with another striker. So depending on the setup that we're going to have next season, he can play as a striker or as a left winger. So he would definitely give us that versatility and flexibility in terms of different tactics in different games. I think it'd be a great signing, but some Liverpool fans disagree with that one. So we'll see what happens with Rafael Leao. Next player is Wisław Jaros. Now, the Czech goalkeeper is being linked with a move away from the club. It's not on a permanent basis. He's being linked with a loan move to Ajax, who, of course, just appointed former Arne Slot's assistant manager in John Heitinger. Now, my thoughts on the rumor. Um, I would have liked to have seen him being sold or even loaned out because we don't have a lot of homegrown players, and Yaros, he does tick that box. But what I'm hearing right now is that Yaros is going to be loaned out to gain further experience, and then we're going to keep Harvey Davis, one of our reserve keepers, because I believe he's 22 years old, so he's able to be registered as a homegrown player. So he'll take that third place in the Liverpool squad. So that's why they've gone to Yaros to say, you know what, you can go and you know pursue a different team next season. And Ajax would be a fantastic club. You know, they're a team that will be playing the Champions League. They will be dominant in the Eredivisie as well. So for me, it would be a great move for the young goalkeeper to join the Dutch team there. And I think, you know, if I was to make a prediction, I think this will happen very, very soon. Next player is Rodrigo now. According to rumors, it looks like the player definitely wants to leave Real Madrid this summer. Um, I think he's been frustrated with the lack of first team action, or you know, the lack of trust and not being able to play in his favorite role, which is apparently left wing. Um, Big question is how much would he cost, and is he the right player for Liverpool? In terms of the fee, he probably costs around 70 million pounds. I think that would be the range that Real Madrid will be after. I think that's affordable from Liverpool side, especially if we were to sell either Nunes or Luis Diaz. I think he'll only be bought if Luis Diaz was to be sold because he would be his natural replacement. And is he the right player for the team? I think he is. He would be predominantly played on the left wing, but due to his, you know, adaptability, he can play on the right if we need to. He can play as a striker as well. So he'll definitely have a very, very important role in the Liverpool team. So he would be a great signing for Liverpool. Whether it's realistic or not, at this stage, very, very hard to say. We're not even sure if Real Madrid will want to do business with us. You know, Florentino Perez said that, oh, Liverpool are their friends. If that's the case, then let's do some business because you know you've nicked one of our players unethically. You know, he's been learning Spanish for the last 2 years. You know, why not, you know, balance the books and you know allow us to sign one of your players, and the player that we probably pick is Rodrigo. So let's see what happens in regards to Rodrigo, and let's see if he joins the Premier League because he has been linked with a move to Arsenal. But I think if it was a battle between Arsenal and Liverpool, you would assume he would go for the champions. But yeah, let's see what happens with Rodrigo. I do expect him to leave this summer. Another player that we've been linked with very, very strongly for the last few months, that is Joel Hato. Um, Still linked with Liverpool, but he's also been linked with a move to a number of clubs. Chelsea, Manchester United, Arsenal, just to name a few, have also been linked with the player. The fee is rumored to be around 42 million pounds. Now, for me, what's going to happen with Hato? Are we going to, you know, push the boat and try and sign him this summer in order to, you know, stop other teams from signing, or do we just say, you know what, we've identified a different profile, so we're not really going to try and sign Hato as well because we've already got Robertson in the squad. We've also got Kirkes as well. Oh, we'll have Kirkes, of course, very, very shortly. Um, but he's still an interesting player for me because I think he'd do really well as a centre back for us as well. Especially, you know, if I'm envisioning the team to play in that 4-4-2 diamond formation, I expect Gravenberch to drop a lot deeper and kind of play as a sweeper. And then you've got Van Dijk and Konate alongside him. And it's like they've pretty much formed a back three, and then the two fullbacks are a lot more in advanced positions. And Van Dijk is always going to be a star in this team, but you know, having a player like Hato covering Van Dijk as a left-sided centre back as well could give us a great balance on that left-hand side. And if we need to, you know, we can also shift him over to left back if we need that option as well. So I think he'd be a smart signing for us. Whether it's this summer or next summer, it remains to be seen. If he remains at Ajax this summer, then maybe it's a player we pursue next year. But I think he's a player with such great potential. Unfortunately, if it's not Liverpool, I think someone else will sign this summer. So let's see what happens with Hato later this summer. And the final player, just briefly touch, I've pretty much made him seem like he's already official player, and that is Milos Kerkez. The current rumor is that everything is pretty much agreed. It's just, formalities in terms of ticking the I's and all that sort of stuff on the contract. I expect to hear some sort of announcement in the coming days. And yeah, hopefully we'll get some official news next week. So he looks like he's destined to be a Liverpool player. And yeah, I'm very pleased with the sign. I think he's a fantastic player. He might not have had, a great ratio in terms of his assists. He had 5 altogether in the league, but I saw enough to suggest that, if he was to play in our team, he'd, you know, be an impressive player on that left-hand side, can overlap and underlap as a fullback, got great possibility, great engine. He's good in one-on-one duels as well. So for me, he'd be a fantastic addition to our squad. So very, very excited to see Kirkes in the team. And yeah, hopefully we'll get that announcement in the coming days. So that's the last rumor. I've got a couple of comments here and then we'll close the show. Uh, Mazzy474 says, Aussie, today is a historic day for Liverpool FC. We have broken the British transfer record, 116 million. How are you feeling about the vet signing? I'm ecstatic. I really am. I did a show a couple of days ago when Romano possibly jumped the gun and revealed that the move was done. I've been excited since then. I always knew it was going to happen. I always felt like we just had to remain patient because it's one of those big deals that it doesn't just happen like that. You've got to bide your time. The clubs will want to make sure that, the payment structure favors them, especially for Bayer Leverkusen, as they will need the finances in order to completely reshuffle their squad after Alonso has left. So 116 million. So I don't know if it's officially the record now because it's 100 million plus 16 in add-ons. But in terms of the collective package, yes, it's 116 million. But regardless, it's a lot less than what we had expected or heard from media outlets. Media outlets were suggesting that it would cost around 150 million euros, which is 126 million in pounds. But look, I think it's a fantastic deal. It's not a crazy amount. Don't listen to what rival fans tell you. Arsenal fans, will say it's too much. They signed Rice for 100 million, and then Chelsea fans will say it's too much, but they signed a player that tackles here and there in Caicedo. So for me, we've got a signing that will probably be the biggest transfer in the Premier League this season, unless we also sign Isak, which would be amazing. But I think Florian Wirtz is a game changer for us. It's a signing that will shock the airwaves, and fans are worried. Fans are shook. I've seen Man United content creators saying how brilliant of a signing is, and they've had to swallow their pride and communicate that because it is the truth. And even across Europe, I'm sure fans of teams that will be challenging for the Champions League next year are concerned with Liverpool in terms of what we're doing, what we're building right now, because we've got Frimpong, we've got Vert practically now. Kirkers is next in the door. Hopefully a new striker, hopefully a centre back, hopefully a defensive midfielder, and we're cooking next season. So I'm ecstatic about this, and I just can't wait, to see him in action. We're gonna have to wait a few weeks, once preseason starts, but I'm very, very excited to see him and playing for Liverpool. So yeah, great day for us, as you mentioned, historic day for Liverpool, and yeah, a weekend of celebrations because this is something we don't get too often, especially Liverpool fans. We've had deals that have broken down in the past, but this time around it doesn't look like that's the case. So yeah, very, very positive for us Liverpool fans. Amaz is also commenting saying reports keep linking Isak with Liverpool. Do you think something is happening behind the scenes? I don't know. I would love for it to be true. I really would. A part of me feels like there is something in terms of there's, some sort of discussions happening. Whether it happens or not, I'm not saying it will, but I do have an inkling that there is definitely some form of communication between the clubs or between the agencies and the player and all that sort of stuff. Whether it happens or not, it remains to be seen. But this signing would it produced an earthquake, honestly, because having Isak and Verts in the same team, that's something dreams are made of. So I'm hoping and praying there is some truth to it. Whether there is anything to that rumor, we'll have to sit tight and wait because we've been spoiled with Florian Wirtz. Now, if we were to get Isak as well, yeah, I don't know how us Liverpool fans will cope. So let's hope, we'll pray and, hopefully, we do see Isak coming to Liverpool because he's the player that I want. I really like Alvarez as well. He'd be another striker, an alternative striker for me. But Isak is the number one choice. There's no one that really rivals him in my eyes. So if we were to sign him, just like Verts was our dream signing, if we were to get Isak as our dream striker, yeah, we're talking. So let's see what happens. Azrak, big up Azrak. He says, why do you think Verts chose Liverpool over Man City, Bayern, and Real Madrid? Liverpool now have massive pulling power. What's given Liverpool the X factor? I think the way Liverpool had just won the league in Arne Slot's opening season, I think cannot be underestimated. Replacing Jurgen Klopp appeared to be an impossible task. We could have signed Ancelotti or someone established, but they still would have faced that same pressure. So for Arne Slot to do it coming from the Eredivisie, respectively, and coming into the Premier League in his first season and having a huge impact the way he did, it's definitely, you know, caught a lot of attention from teams all over Europe. But also with our Champions League campaign, we were undefeated. So I felt like it showed what level Liverpool were playing at. And I know we lost to champions in the end, which is Paris Saint-Germain, but we showed a great account of ourselves. And I feel like European teams will definitely see Liverpool as one of the favourites for next season or one of the big guns. We are Premier League champions, but it's on merit because we were very consistent. We were very good throughout the season, and teams like Arsenal and Man City, they have declined a little bit, and that's probably why they're trying to reinforce their squad this summer. But I feel like for Vert to reject Man City, Bayern Munich, and Real Madrid for Liverpool, it speaks volumes. Bayern Munich would have been the obvious signing because in terms of what you've seen in the past, it's customary for Bayern Munich to acquire a prominent German talent in the league. That's just how it goes. For us to stop that and nick the player off their hands, it's definitely something that surprised a lot of fans, and it's given us a bit of hate from Germany as well. But so be it. In terms of Man City, maybe the project wasn't appealing to Verts. They're a team on decline as well, so that's probably something that he's assessed. I know they've just signed Cherki, Nuri, and they're signing Reinders as well, but there's no guarantee that that will click right away. They have a lot of work to do, in my opinion. Arsenal, I don't even think they were in the mix. Even if they tried to be in the mix, I don't think Verts would have favoured them. The Real Madrid one, that one gave me a little bit of like, oh, come on, hopefully it's not Real Madrid because when we were in discussions, there were rumors circling that Real Madrid might try to, hijack the deal, especially with Alonso being the new manager there. Maybe that would have swayed his decision to actually join Real Madrid, but it wasn't the case. And I also feel like he might not have fitted their team because of the way they play. Jude Bellingham is pretty much the guy that plays in that advanced midfield role. So Verts might not be able to get in, or he'll have to rotate. And I don't think he favours that. For Liverpool, he's pretty much going to be the main man in our team, or the team will be evolved around him because he's going to play that central role in that number 10 role. So for me, I think Liverpool have shown in that short space of time under Arne Slot that this is a different level of a team, and it's just the beginning. We've got a lot more levels to achieve. So you know, if people are concerned about Liverpool from last season, next season it's going to be a completely different outcome altogether. So I feel like that's probably why Verts was you know blown away by the project presented by Arne Slot because of how tactically astute Arne Slot is, but probably showcase how important he would be in our team. So when a player gets that good feeling from a coach, it definitely helps in terms of acquiring that player. So that's probably what happened in those sort of discussions between the coach and the player there. Man says, look, Ozzy, if we sign a striker with your footballing knowledge, give us a name to look out for. If we have striker with your football knowledge, I'm going to say Isak. the GQA. That's the striker one, honestly. Uh, in terms of other players out there, I think, the likes of Ekitike, he's pretty much well known. One player that I really like, he's not a striker, but he plays as an attacker, is Akiluche. He plays for Monaco. He looks like a very special talent, but unfortunately, I feel like PSG are going to sign that player very, very soon. The striker market is not the best, if I'm being brutally honest with you. Um, rumours just actually signed the Argentinian player for what's his name from Liverpool Plate. Very talented player. Let me get there's Mastan Tuono. So they signed him today. He's someone that's going to be a problem going forward. He's a number 10 but can play on the right wing. Um, a name to look out for. Those are the attacking players that come to mind. In terms of strikers, I don't even know who would, you know, give you that kind of like form that, what, this guy might be the next thing, because there's not many strikers out there, if I'm being honest. Probably say Ekitike, but he sounds like the obvious one, to be honest with you. Um, I'll have to come back to that one. I don't think there's too many young strikers that are, ready for that next step, in my opinion. Otherwise, we'll probably be looting them right now. The striker market is not the best, if I'm being brutally honest with you. As I said, what's your prediction for Verts? How many goals and assists will he get, and will he win Ballon d'Or at Liverpool? To be realistic, I don't think he'll win it in the first season, just to put it out there. But in terms of goals and assists, I'm expecting double figures for goals and assists. So at least 10 assists and 10 goals in the Premier League alone, in my opinion. And then, you know, a similar kind of range in the Champions League. That might sound like very high sort of benchmark for the player there, but I feel like he has the quality. I feel like he's capable of producing those kind of numbers. So yeah, if he was to fall short, it doesn't mean that he's a failure or anything to that nature. As long as he's impacting the way we play, and he's helping the team win and win trophies. More importantly, then it's a signing that makes sense. So for me, I expect him to hit the ground running straight away. I really do. I think he's that level of a player where he's not going to take a long time to adjust. Maybe a few weeks here and there, but that's what you got preseason for. And it's good that you signed him now very early so we can, embed him into the team to our way of playing and, ease him in, and get him used to our sort of way of playing, and then also in terms of getting accustomed to the Premier League football as well. So for me, it's going to be exciting to see him verse in the team. So yeah, let's see. Uh, what happens with Buzz. Let's see, when he'll get to play his next game, because I think we're on a tour in Japan, so that might be the first few fixtures that we see of Florian Wirtz. So something to look forward to. And that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to Unival Cologne 66, Double D, Elliott Football Waffle, Mazzy 474, and Azrak. Appreciate your comment, appreciate your engagement, guys. If you haven't already, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. In terms of upcoming shows, slightly non-Liverpool related, but I know we've got the Club World Cup taking place from this Sunday, so I might do a few watch-alongs. I think we have a game uh, this Sunday, and I think the team is, what's the first game? So it's uh, PSG versus Atletico Madrid, which will be a fantastic watch. As far as this, so I'm going to try my best to do watch on this. So I can't promise, but best thing to do is hit that notification bell, so you'll be aware that if I do have the time to go live and do watch on with you, with everyone, then I'll definitely do it on the day. I think the kickoff is around 8 p.m. as well, so hopefully I should have enough time to go live and do that. And then we'll do a few selected games as well. There's certain games that are like 2 in the morning, with work and family lifestyle. I'm not sure I'll be able to stay up from 2 in the morning until 4 in the morning. It'll be a bit too much for me. You probably see me fall asleep live on stream. But, we'll try and do some watch alongs for the Club World Cup. And then we'll also, goes without saying, do some more Liverpool content next week. I've got another transfer talk show lined up for next week. If the Kirkes move is finalized, then we'll do another show on Kirkes. I might do a player profile on Bacola, a player that I really like, and maybe another one as well. If you have any suggestions in terms of players that I should analyze as, someone that could be a great fit in our squad, feel free to drop a comment and let me know. But yes, lots of content coming your way. So yeah, please feel free to join and get involved in the discussions. Just got a couple more comments here before we go. Manny says, how much will we get for Nunes? I'm praying that it's one of the Saudi teams and we get 70 to 80 million. That's the benchmark there, because they were willing to spend 70 in January. So if we can increase the odds, maybe we could push it to 80. So that's the kind of range that I'm expecting for Darwin Nunes. But if it's not a Saudi team and it's a team from Europe, unfortunately, we're gonna have to accept half of that, which is around 40 million, which is not good enough in my opinion. We would have made a huge loss in Darwin Nunes, but probably better to part ways with something rather than nothing, isn't it? So let's see. But I'm hoping and praying that it is Saudi that signs Nunes this summer. Maddie said, big up Ozzy, great show, keep it up. Thank you for your kind words, Maddie. Appreciate your support there. And that is it for today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Take care, stay safe, and I hope to speak with you all very, very soon. Goodbye.